Hey guys, welcome to Pommyinoz. How are you all doing? I hope you're very well. As you can see, look, the studio's starting to take shape. We've got a ring light in. It's all coming together. If you are new around here, please like and subscribe to the channel. It means the absolute world to me. It really does help me out. And it's just nice to show off of hitting nearly 300 subs. So, my beloved Blue Boys, they've just went down to Port Adelaide over the weekend in a really closely fought game. And today's Poms Ponderings, as always, is we review the highs and lows, as it is being a Carlton fan. So I went into this game really positive. I really truly believe we turned the corner, and there's nothing that really says to me that we haven't. I feel a bit flat though, and this loss has really hit me hard. I think any game where you lose at a kick at a siren is tough, regardless. But I mean, I'm trying to be consistent. I think the most important thing is for me, this forum of sharing my voice and you guys and girls listening to me, which is a huge honour, is I try and come at it from a perspective that's maybe a little bit different to everyone else. I'm more raw emotion, I'm more raw passion. I have a set principles on how I think fans should be, and I try and present that European flair to you guys, where it's more from the heart as opposed to thinking about things on the outside picture. And I think if I look at that game from a neutral perspective, we don't deserve to be in it. Port are a lot more refined, a lot more clear cut, a lot more ruthless. That kick into Gray was probably one of the best kicks you've seen this weekend. It hit him brilliantly. And for me, I don't want to take solace in it, but I kind of am, that it took a moment of sheer brilliance to beat us. And there's no getting away from it. The boys played really, they kept themselves in it. It was great to see in the fourth quarter a team players and kind of become Carlton of old. You know, that PTSD we all suffer from, where they were missing easy shots. They weren't taking their chances. And for me, that is a sign of a good team. Good teams do that to the opposition. They put enough pressure. But if I'm honest, I'm gutted, because that was a game that should have been. You know, the old saying, you shouldn't really look at if-onlys, because if only my nana had a wheel, she'd be a bike. It's probably not worth, but I'm cut, man. I'm cut. It hurts. It's 24 hours after. I was going to record this last night. I just couldn't do it. It hurts, man. Fucking hurts. Because you can see the talent offer. We're going to go through players individually, but for me, there's a few things I've seen overnight, one of which is we didn't play our game plan. For me, that's a lack of understanding of football principles. Ken Hinckley's side traditionally play a brand of football that stops you playing it. It's what good teams do. They stop you playing it. We did that against Doggies. We stopped them playing their free-flowing, backline building, score-launching game. Good sides do it. And I thought the boys acquitted themselves well. I think you take Charlie Dixon out of that game, they lose 9 times out of 10. But then you could also say that if Charlie Dixon kicks straight, we lose by 6-7 goals. It's tight margins at this level. This level, it's tough. You look at all the key leaders, the key indicators for me to put my Bolton head on. They won them. Marginally, they won them, but they won them. And for me, it's another lesson. It's another lesson. And we're not quite there yet. We're not quite refined enough. I don't blame anyone the last 2 minutes at all. I've seen a lot of hate for Gibbons. He did what footballers do. You kick down the line at the death to, what, a 3-on-2 contest, and Pitternet, Casbolt and McKay between them couldn't spoil it. They spoil that, they win. You could say Cunners, he steadies himself. He knew he had a bit of time. He kicks that snag. That goal maybe was a goal too far for them. But you can't look at it like that. At the end of the day, the boys were in a game they didn't deserve to be. And I think what hurts for me is we've done that so many times, where we've outplayed a side on the stat sheet, in the game, and we haven't quite had that touch of class that Robbie Gray, Kane Farrell and Travis Boak and Jonas produced in the last 2 minutes that won them the game. And it's just, we lack that refinedness at the moment. However, that being said, I'm positive. I'm trying to be. I mean, it's probably not coming across that way because I'm cut, man. Deeply cut. I love this club with everything that makes me, really. And I stayed up late and watched United get mauled by Chelsea. It's been a bad 24 hours for sport. Well, let's get into it anyway. I mean, Tom Williamson, for me, I mean, Willow, he did more of a defensive role today than we used to on Connor Rosie. And I was impressed by it. You didn't see Rosie very much. We know he took a bit of a knock towards the end of the first half, which may or may have not affected him. You could say that he was a bit loose when Rosie took that mark inside 50 at the start of the third, which he managed to put on top of the behind post, which is an impressive feat himself. But I like Willow's cut and his endeavour. I would like to see him be a bit more marauding going forward. I do think he kind of gets locked down more in his defensive role, and we know he throws his weight around. But for me, it was a solid performance, and like Willow is starting to get a bit of continuity, and I'm enjoying seeing him develop. I am enjoying. There's a lot of. I know us Carlton fans, we put him on a pedestal, and he's kind of done sweet FA as of the moment to probably warrant that. But you can definitely see there's talent there, and. For me, yeah, Willow, he took on, for me, Connor Rosie. We know he hasn't had the brilliantest of seasons. He started off well. He's kind of plateaued at the moment. But he's a dangerous customer. Rosie knows his way around a football pitch. And he did solidly for me. He worked him well around the oval. And it was a good, solid lockdown performance. Mark Pernat. Sweet Jesus. I'm not pressing the panic button like a lot of people are of going, he's average. He's had one bad game, but Peter Laddams, the only thing that Laddams brings is a crap haircut to the AFL community. And Laddams looked beautiful, didn't he? I mean, he was 100% with 2 minutes to go of the first half. And he was just finding the pill at will. How many times did he take it straight out of a ruck contest and get the clearance? It weren't the best from Pernat. 3 touches. I think there was 1 tackle in there, 20 hit-outs. But, I mean, I can't fully criticise him because of them 20 hit-outs, he won them cleanly, knocked them straight down to the ground, and no one collects it. Like, you add them 20 clearances to our total, and it's a different ball game again. This game plan that team plays is heavily reliant on winning clearance, fast ball movement. You saw when we go coast to coast, I'd say we're top 2 in the league. But it wasn't a great game. There was not really any second and third efforts. His work around the ground was shithouse. Like, frick. It weren't a great game. I'm not pressing the panic alarm, though, because every player has a bad game here or there. But he got battered by Laddams, let's be honest. SPS, I'm still not sold on this half-back flank malarkey. I think you look at him, you look at the top players in the league, they have that 45 kick. Dustin Martin did it twice this weekend. It opens up the ground, and the way team plays with the transition, that 45 kick is imperative. So I see why he's there. But for me, also, his touch of class and stuff, he's needed more in the middle. If I was Teague and I was picking the team, I'd be swapping him and Noonsy around or finding someone else to do Noonsy's role, because Noons seems to slot behind SPS. I think SPS, he's got the attacking flair, which he's got very good defensive craft. Don't get me, he's building, but I think this apprenticeship needs to stop. I'd like to see him in the middle, or at least be thrown in the middle when we need him. I felt like our midfield kind of lacked the creative spark this week, where we saw it against the Dogs, and I like SPS. He takes things on. I know he gets criticised for taking on too much, but you want that. You want someone to at least pick up the bullet. I thought it was an okay performance. It hasn't set the world alight. It was just okay. But I just think against North as well, I would like to see him have a little bit more responsibility moving forward. We do need someone to get them metres gained off half-back, so I see why he's there, but he sometimes doesn't seem to take the game on by foot, which concerns me at times because he's so beautiful. He's a wonderful kick. It was an okay game. Betts doing Betts things. That goal, from the contest was a thing of beauty. He's a talented boy and he's still got it. And for mine, he's still proven he's one of the best small players in the competition. He looks to make things happen. It's good creative injection. The pressure's there, and that's one thing that I felt was lacking this week. Burne-Jones and Burton just kind of got the ball at will down back. He was one of the few that put a bit of defensive pressure on. But it was an okay game. I really do think when he got that goal, it sparked us, and it did. You see how it sparks the team. And it's a shame we don't have two of the similar type of players. You really do think that Josh Honey's got to be banging the door down. And we'll talk a bit about Josh Honey now. Josh Honey's very Cody Waitman-like. He's an unrefined Waitman. I'd love to see him get a gig sooner or later. I think he would add a touch of polish there. Liam Jones, Dixon battered him. And let's be honest about this, Dixon battered him. And I know a lot of people have been saying Wheatering should have gone on Dixon. I think when you saw Wheatering's role with Marshall, he was an intercepting genius. He was killing it, and he was really looking to set up score launches from there. And I think that prohibited him from being moved. Now, I know Teague likes to have faith in his players, and that's all well and good, but if you can't see Dixon battered Jones, you are watching another game, and that is unfortunately how he has to be judged. One-on-one, he got destroyed, and if Dixon could kick straight that game, that could have been dirty. I did think that maybe Casbolt should have gone on Dixon in the second half, or at least been tried to. Dixon doesn't have pace. Dixon doesn't have exceptional mobility. He's a brute. He's a thug. He wrestles his way. And that's where Casbolt's strengths are. I would have liked to see that. It weren't a great game for Jones. When you're playing back shoulder of a forward, you're going to get beaten. He was behind him all the time. His defensive positioning was absolutely shocking. And it is a criticism of Jones all the time. His positioning is woeful. When it's on, but when it's off, by heck, it's morbid to watch. That could have been messy. We got lucky. Cunners again, he flatters to deceive. I don't think it was too bad. He did quite a defensive role with the second half of Burne-Jones. And I thought that was quite successful. Burne-Jones' influence was alleviated. But he's got it. He's got it. It's there, and you can see what he brings to the table. Not his finest game, but he's got a bit of talent there, and I'd persevere. McKay, once he finds goals, he's unstoppable, and it's great to see him kicking snags. Was definitely our major threat all the time. I would like to see him add a bit of tackles to his game, but his pressure is exemplary, and his marking is second to none. Kennedy, it was an okay game. It kind of lacked the impetus, though, I thought, in the second half. There wasn't as the shepherding we saw that was so successful against the Doggies. People got to Cripper at will, which is kind of on Kennedy at times. But he's another one like Cunners. It's either good or it's okay. Levi Casbolt, you've got to judge him on his forward craft, and his forward craft wasn't quite there this week. There was a bit of intensity. There was some good bumps and stuff. Them two goals, though, hurt us. When he had that set shot, and if he'd got it, it would have been a different game. You know, when you add the 6 points to that, we would have maybe been able to see out the game. But all in all, it wasn't his greatest day at the office. And the same can be said for Mitch. He led well. He presented well. But just lacked them goals. I enjoyed the intensity in the first half, though, from him. It kind of went off in the second. But you can see what's happening there. I do look at that forward line, though, and just think if you could replace one of them with Charlie Kerner, it's a lot more frightening, because I do feel that Casbolt and McGovern are very similar type of players of what they bring, where McKay has got that coup de grace. I would have liked to see Levi go down back, though. Lockie Plowman, best game in Carlton colours that I can remember, aside from probably that time that he towelled up Cameron. People criticising him for the grey kick, but that grey kick was an absolute dynamite kick. You can't blame Plowman for that. That was a 10 out of 10 game for me, Plowman. You didn't see Robbie Gray at all. Robbie Gray was nowhere to be seen. He was just a shade of black throughout that game. And I feel for Plowman. That would probably hurt the most. My boy Lockie gets the negativity from a moment of genius, man. Moment of genius, that was. Like, if it didn't happen to us, I would have applauded that. Plowman, great game. His defensive positioning is second to none. He knows how to play a small, fast player. And it's crazy because of his height, you'd expect him to be better with the more mechanical forwards that he comes across, the more slower, medium-sized players. For some reason, you put him on someone who's smaller, quick and elusive. He absolutely towels them up. And I love his endeavour. I thought his use was good. I love the way he sacrifices his game for the betterment of the defence. And he's a very selfless footballer, a lot of time for it. Nunes, he took his goal well, and I think his role is really understated at Carlton. He gets a lot of abuse because he doesn't get the 20, 30 touches. But I look at his role, a defensive wingman who slots down into the back pocket when we need that extra spare man. Who's playing that role? People are talking about Fisher. Fisher's hasn't got the defensive capabilities. Fisher's one way. He's a dynamite attacking player, attacking wingman, or someone who slots on half forward. The only person potentially who could replace him would be Lockie Plowman or SPS. You put SPS there, but then who do you put at the halfback? Who do you put in the back pocket? It's a tough one for me. I like Nunes. I think what he does with his size and his ability to play about 3 or 4 positions, he's probably not best 22 talent-wise, but this system is more important. The team system is more important than the best 22 players, because the best 22 players don't always play in a system. Maybe Lockie Plowman's a shout. He's knocking the door down to an extent. But for me at the moment, Nunes is probably one of the first 10 names there because of what he does. A defensive wingman who can slot in. He's by no means he sets the world alight, but Nunes has never set the world alight. At St Kilda, he's always been questioned as that 6 out of 10 footballer. Every top side has a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 footballer. He's it. I just can't see it. I thought he did his role well. I really did. It's a role though. Like, we can't get seduced by statistics, as Teague says. What he does for the team is so much more important than the numerical things. And it's really important that we notice that about Nunes. He's not going to win you games. He's going to put in a good, honest shift, and players around him will pick it up. Jack Martin, Brian Lake went absolute banter mode on this guy about defensive pressure. And I sometimes look at it as a Pom, and I think I'm an alien to this game. And I'm sure a lot of Australians are like, oh, what the hell do you know? But I know enough to suggest that Jack Martin isn't there for his defensive capabilities. And if he's going to be putting pressure on and being a tackle, and you're looking to him, we've got huge problems at this football club, because the guy is elite with the ball in hand. He's like Dustin Martin. You don't want Dustin Martin at halfback laying tackles and getting the ball out. You want Dustin Martin with the ball in his hands and making things happen. And Jack Martin is an absolute superstar, man. I can't speak highly enough of him. I love everything he does. I've always been one of these people that have come over here, and it's weird, without stereotyping, Indigenous players are absolute brilliant to watch. I love how it's kind of like inherent in their abilities to get you excited. And he's just brilliant, man. I can't speak highly enough of him. I absolutely love Jack Martin. Brilliant, brilliant. He looks to make things happen. He's clean. He takes the game on. He's so pivotal to Teague's system. It's not funny. He took his goal well. Okay, you could say he should have kicked that snag, but there's about 10 players that should have snagged. Connors being one. I mean, it was a good performance. And Jack Martin, he just keeps getting better and better. And I'd love to see him with a pad play or someone like that in there to help him. Having 2 types of players like that, I reckon this team would just suddenly skyrocket. Murphy, it was a Murphy-type game. I mean, people are forgetting he laid 2 tackles, and 2 months ago we were criticising him for not tackling. It wasn't a great game, but I don't think anyone in the midfield really stood out this week. I think Setterfield was probably close to one of our best, and then Walsh was by far our best. But for me, the rest of the midfield was a bit meh. And I thought Murphy did well. He was assured at times, particularly towards the late end of the game. Yeah, he should have snagged. But, I mean, if we're criticising people for should have snagged when half the team should have done, there is 18 blokes on the field at one time. Jacob Wearing, for me, people are talking about Harris Andrews and Darcy Moore. This guy hasn't lost a one-on-one contest yet all year. There isn't a better one-on-one defender in the comp. He's a dynamite. He is absolutely brilliant. The fact he can lock down a forward and also intercept and create score launches is unforgivable. No one talks about it. For me, Harris Andrews and him are fighting for that second spot, because Darcy Moore for me is top of the tree at the moment this year. For me, this bloke and Harris Andrews are fighting it out. I said last year, Harris Andrews and him and Jacob Wheaton will be all Australian for the next decade over McGovern. And I haven't seen anything that says otherwise. Wheaton is an absolute jet, absolute phenomenal footballer, probably first choice of all 18 clubs. One of the few players that can say that, and a phenomenal player. Understated role as well. People are criticising his kicking in the fourth. He's absolutely towed up a defender and been probably the Hadrian's wall of the back line. He's entitled to one bad kick. Every player does. It's crazy. You watch every game this week, there's been a top player make a mistake. They make mistakes, man. They're human. It's when they make repetitive mistakes, but you can't put a loss on Wheater in there. Sam Dock, it was an okay game. Probably not his finest. He found a lot of the ball. We just couldn't get him freed up, and it was the same as Simpson. They found a lot of the ball. That mark from Simo was brilliant, going into traffic. Both of them, though, impacted the game to an extent. Wasn't the greatest. Mickey Gibbons, he's copped a lot of abuse from the Carlton faithful for that kick. I don't see what else you want to have him done. I mean, let's question why no one behind him was moving. Ahead of him in his structure, there was two players in the midfield just stood there. Like, just get up forward. That kick always goes long. It's 101 football. It has to go down the line to a contest. If it's spoiled, we win the game. It wasn't. I don't know what you want Mickey Gibbons to do. He took his goal well. His tackle pressure is elite. I am enjoying Mickey Gibbons. It's amazing as well when he goes through the midfield, things happen. Cripper. There was a lot of tackles there. There was a lot of intensity. But these are the type of games that players impact. Look at Boak. Look at Gray. When it matters they step up, it wasn't a great game. And he kind of gets away with it because he's Crips. It was a 5, 6 out of 10 game. Somehow AFL.com.au has him as best. I don't know. He's working the contest, he's clean. But in these type games, we can't look at this side as a bottom 4 side. We've got to think of it as a top 8 side. I keep saying this. And that's why I'm kind of, in a way, pervertly happy we lost to a moment of brilliance, because that's how you beat top 8 sides. There just wasn't the moment of brilliance from Cripper this week. There wasn't. And it was just an okay game. Setterfield was clean. His tackle pressure is elite, 10 tackles. He's really owning that role on the ball. And that's why I would have liked to have seen in the third quarter Cripper maybe take the chance, roll the dice and play him in the forward line, create a mismatch, maybe move Casbolt down back. I felt like the game was lost this week in the coaching box, not so much on the pitch. Ed Kerner, he had a tough job on Boak. Boak's still impacted, but he impacted himself. 7 tackles, a plethora of clearances, 20 touches. It was a good game. It was a good game. It wasn't great, though. I mean, Boak towed him up, really, on the stat sheet, but it was kind of a run with roll. I don't think it was a tag roll. I think they both impacted in their own way. He had a chance for a dream goal as well, didn't quite take it. And then Sammy Walsh, phenomenal performance. He was great to see, 16 touches, 3 tackles, 2 goals. He really broke out. And I said in the preview this week that I thought he was going to have a good game against Rosie's, seen him go head-to-head. It was exciting for the game. I don't think you can compare these two players. I mean, I think that's mad that we're comparing them because it's 2 different types of dynamics. Both very good players. We're fortunate to live through the next 10 years of these two. Well, I hope I live that long. I think if Carlton keep doing low games, I probably don't. But it was an exciting game. I really enjoyed Sam Walsh's game. I would like to see him play a bit more up top. You know, I was watching that, slot him in that half-forward line every so often because he knows where the goals are. He's a very creative youth, and I enjoyed his game. I mean, all in all, for me, the best 3 on the ground was Walsh, Wheater and McKay. I thought they were brilliant. That's my 3, 2 and 1. We go over to North now, and they're a team in trouble, and wounded teams are always a problem because Reece Shaw won't accept that. But there was enough there for me to say that they were okay. I mean, it was a moment of brilliance. It hurts, and we should have been cleaner. But the tough truth is we don't have enough winners to win them tight games. There's a lot. You watch that last 2 minutes again, you could probably name 15 blokes that could have done better. It's a tough game. It's a tough game. Hinkley's side, credit to them. They play a high-pressure based game, and we out-pressured them for a lot of that fourth quarter. It was a moment of brilliance, and I warned you about Farrell. We know the class of Gray. I think Gray's probably one of the few players in the comp who could do it. But it hurts at the moment, guys and girls. It hurts. Please let me know your best. What did you think of the game? Am I being a little bit of a suck, being upset about it? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. It cheers me up. As always, Pom out. I'll be back tomorrow. I've got something a bit different tomorrow. We have started to get a bit of normality here. I'm enjoying the new home. As always, don't see you through the week. I'll see you through the window. Pom out.